Good morning, everyone from Tucson. My name's Rick, and today we're going to do a long overdue update on my 2002 Porsche 911. All right, so here's a quick history of the car if you're new to the channel. I bought it with about 108,600 miles or so from a really great guy in California named Bob. Thanks, Bob. Appreciate it, buddy. And Bob and I have actually stayed friends. And he bought it from the original owner who put all the mileage on the vehicle except for maybe the 600 miles or so that Bob put on it. And he actually ended up having to sell it just for personal reasons. He now has another 911, so very cool. And Bob's an amazing mechanic and used to race and does all kinds of neat stuff. But the gal who owned it originally leased the car, and I've got a whole portfolio of all the maintenance that she did on the vehicle over the years, and pretty much all of it was done at the dealership. So the car was very well maintained. It now has 122,000, about 500 or 600 miles on it, and it's really been a pleasure for the last 4 years to own this vehicle. Some of the interesting things that I found in the paperwork was they actually, because of, I can't remember if it was cylinder 6 or cylinder 2, there was an issue with it, so they had to redo that. When she first had the car, it was like literally in the first 10,000 miles or so. But when I bought it from Bob, it did have the original IMS bearing, and my initial thought was I would wait a while to do a new IMS bearing until I got a clutch. Just being that supposedly the higher mileage cars do better IMS bearing wise, basically because they're driven. Whether or not that's true, I don't really know. I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination. But if you do need an IMS bearing replaced and you're in Arizona, check out McLevin Motors up in Phoenix. I really can't say enough good things about Scott. He's a great mechanic, and beyond that, just a really good guy and treats you like family from the beginning. So check him out. Again, he's up in Phoenix, kind of near Sky Harbor Airport. When they took the bearing out, obviously there was oil that had gone past the seals, and I'm sure all the grease was gone, especially at 108,000 miles. But, you know, there didn't make any noise, spun freely. So whether or not it was going to fail anytime soon, I don't really know. I know there's different levels of supposed bearing failure that I'm just not an expert on. But I replaced it with an LN bearing. At the same time, we did the air oil separator, and we also did a water pump, and Scott said it looked like it was probably the original, which actually scared him more than having the IMS bearing in it. Along with those things, the AOS, RMS, we did the clutch, did not need a flywheel, which was cool. Obviously the IMS bearing. Since then, I've also done coils and pugs. I've done tires. Full brake job, replaced the passenger and driver's side front window regulators, as well as one of the rear regulators, which was quite expensive. That part alone is like $600 if you buy it new, $700. I did not do that one, I had Scott do it. It seemed like kind of a pain in the butt, but apparently a lot of people do them themselves, which is not something I wanted to mess with. I replaced the headlight washers that pop up. I had the headlights refurbished. They were nice, and they were kind of yellow and glazing over. What else have I done? A few little things on the inside. There's a activator switch that tells the car that the emergency brake's on. That went out, not a hard job to do. There's a video in my playlist for that. Also did the ignition switch. Not hard jobs at all. Coils and plugs, there's also a video, and that was kind of a pain in the butt. Not a big fan of that job, and hopefully I don't have to do that one again. Just cramped in there, really small space. Oh, one of the other things, when I first got the vehicle, I was changing the oil, and the oil filler tube plugs in way in the back and comes forward. If you're familiar with the car, then it clicks into the air box. Well, I broke mine, which is a very common thing because they get brittle from the heat, I'm sure, of the motor. That job is a beast to do. You have to remove the alternator, which mine was so stuck, and basically, you know, you pound on a little bit to get the bolt to release so you can get it out. Nightmare. That was a nightmare. It was a 2-day job. And then once we finally got that out, I got the oil filler tube, and it took me forever to get that thing started. It's blind, it's way in the back. My wife actually was the one that got the bolt started for me. I got it all buttoned back up, and then the alternator wasn't functioning correctly after that. So I had to take it all apart again and put a new alternator in. So that was something I did quite some time ago. As you can probably see in the video, I've got it on a trickle charger. Probably need to get a new battery, it's getting close. But I don't drive the car enough to keep it charged. Usually about once a week if I'm lucky. I'm just super busy. All that being said, it has been a great 4 years. I really, as I said in one of my very first videos about this car, I always wanted a 911. I had never driven one until I flew to California to meet Bob and to take this for a test drive. And a lot of times in life you want a vehicle or something in your life that you want, and then you get it and it's kind of like, meh, whatever. This wasn't that way. Even with 108,000 miles, it's just it's a beautiful car. It's comfortable. It's just an absolute joy to drive. And my favorite way to drive this is to put the top down in the summer and drive up our local mountain here. It's kind of a twisty mountain road. And it's just, hearing the exhaust, feeling the power, just cruising. It's really an amazing experience. This car, again, as I've mentioned in other videos, it's just nice because it's really like having 3 cars in one. I have a hardtop for this as well. When you have the hardtop on it, it's a totally different vehicle. With the convertible top up, it's different, and then with the top down. So it's just kind of cool. It's a beautiful, fun car to drive. I know a lot of people dislike the 996 because of the IMS bearing and because of other problems, bore scoring and these other things. But the main culprit is the headlights. They're not round like all the other 911s. Whatever. It is, get over it. If you don't like it, don't buy the car, but it's not a reason to not own one of these. They are fantastic driving cars, and in my opinion, they're beautiful. I don't mind the headlights. I do tend to like the newer lights of 2002 plus over the 99s and 2000s, but I know some people like the other ones better as well. So with all of that said, let's talk about future plans here. So I just got in the mail the other day a big box of parts. So we'll talk about that in just a second. But otherwise, as far as going forward, with 122 plus thousand miles on here, I'm getting to the point where it's like I'd love to do a paint job. From 10 feet, the paint looks great, but it's got a number of rock chips on the front. I've got rock chips along the side and the back, and then there was the one episode where I had my laptop actually on the soft top, and I was at the track with Scott down near Wilcox, and wind blew my laptop over as I was bent into the car and put a little bit of a scratch and a tiny dent on the back rear quarter on the passenger side. So there's little things that I'd love to get this thing painted. I don't want to do, I'm not going to have them strip it completely down. It's probably still going to be pretty expensive to do, but I really don't want to do that until I get, I'm probably going to have the motor taken out and maybe gone through just to double check. I don't want to drop, $3,000 to $5,000 on a paint job and then have the motor blow and then, look at another $15,000 bill or so to get the motor figured out. That's kind of the plan is, over the next year or two. I retire next December from the fire department, so maybe then maybe I'll even try to do it myself. I don't know yet, we'll see. Otherwise, it's just been a great experience. If you're looking at 996, they're a fantastic vehicle, fun to drive if you get a good one. Just be careful when you're looking at them. There's some guys out there that try to scam you when the car has some issues, and then I recommend getting a PPI before you buy it. I did not get one when I bought mine. 99% of that reason was because of Bob, and I trusted him. Sometimes you have a feeling for people, and he's just a good guy, and I could tell from the beginning, plus all the maintenance records. And so I was fortunate. Like I said, I do recommend you get one just in case they can find stuff, and you can get it by a good mechanic that knows what they're doing and can really check out the car before you buy it. Even at $10,000, $15,000, or $20,000, these cars, as far as the original price, is not a lot of money, but maintenance-wise, you got to be prepared to spend a few $1,000s the first couple years of ownership just to kind of get them back up to snuff. This box of parts that I'm talking about, that I'm going to show you, is front suspension stuff. And I mentioned in a while back, did a video on a noise I was having, which was a clunk over, bumps at slow speed. And it seems to be a very common problem. And I've changed out the end links and also the strut mounts, which did not help. So I think what's in the box here is going to help me out and get rid of that noise for me. Let's check out the box of parts and I'll show you what I picked up. And I'm hoping to get that stuff installed the next month and hope to have a video out on that process. So let's check it out. All right, so here's my big box of parts. We're going to, I'll show you what I got in here. And I'm hoping, I'm just going to start on the front end with this stuff here. And there's other things I need to do up there, but I'm going to start here and see, hopefully this will help me with what I'm trying to do. I did also order a cabin air filter, which is something I haven't done in a while. And I bought this stuff from SCP Euro. I'm not affiliated with them at all. They just had this package together and it was a fairly decent price, so I went with it. I did not use, as far as the control arms go, I did not use Porsche, branded or specific parts. I went with Miley or however you say this one. They seem to get good reviews and they're, not quite as expensive, which is nice. When you're doing a lot of parts like these, it's just, you save a little bit while you can here. So I don't know the specific name of all these parts, but I'm going to show you what I got. This, tuning fork control arm. So, and I'll do a comparison when I actually do the install and show you how close they are as far as to the originals. And then the other control arm, what they call, I guess, a coffin arm. It has the joint on it here. So we'll see, and I'll show you the difference. Obviously I have the control arms for both the driver's side and passenger side. And then I got the little boots that go with the inner and outer tie rods for those, and that comes in a little kit with new clamps and some lube for the joints. And these TRWs, I guess, are the original manufacturer for the tie rods for 911. So here's the inner and then the outer tie rod. Obviously after these, you're going to need to get an alignment. So I'm really interested to find out how trashed the rubber bushings are on all of these things. I'm really hoping this solves my issue. If nothing else, it's going to improve the ride more than anything. As far as the shocks and struts and stuff on here, that'll come down the road. Something I'd like to do. I have no interest in stiffening up the suspension or changing it, making it more racy. I don't go to the track or anything. And I personally love the way this car drives on the road, so I have no interest in changing that. But hopefully the next month I'll get this all installed and dialed in, and I will make a video on putting this stuff in. I'm not a mechanic, but I can generally figure things out, so hopefully I can give you some helpful hints and tricks, and more than anything, I'm hoping it solves my clunking issue. If not, we'll keep searching. So otherwise, I think that's about it for now as far as the update goes on the 911. Hopefully I'll have that video up for you soon, and I sincerely appreciate you guys watching. Hope everyone that celebrates Hanukkah had a great Hanukkah. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Probably won't see you before then. But thanks so much for watching. And if you have questions or comments, as always, you can leave those below. And my email will be down there too if you need to get in contact with me. Talk to you soon.